All right. Welcome to another live. I'm Marnie Batista, your host, the founder of Screw the Should Life and Life Check Yourself podcast. I am here with the amazing Mary Petto. She is a vibration specialist. I mean, who doesn't want turmoil resolution? I just found out that my landlord's selling my house, so maybe you can help me. And author
Absolutely.
of the
Absolutely.
right, an author of the Family Guide to the Law of Attraction. She is a sought after transformational speaker. She's a mindfulness meditation teacher. She does private sessions. She does corporate presentations. She's all about immediate shifts. We're talking quantum business growth, physical healing, transformed relationships. She has a background in corporate leadership. So some of you that are in corporate and thinking about starting your own thing, you'll also probably Lynch, DLJ Asset Management. She's worked with high profile nonprofits. If your brain is looping and your energy's leaking, Mary's the one you call to clear it. So I'm so excited that you're here. I'm just fascinated. You were in a high level corporate environment. How did you realize that, mindset alone wasn't enough and that something deeper needs to shift when we're in crisis, so to speak?
Well, it started with in that corporate environment, um, me learning and internalizing the laws of vibration and intention and how we can, right, leverage this natural law of the universe called the law of attraction and really bring forward all the experiences or whatever it is we need. And in a business or financial abundance world, it's a tremendous skill set. And so I was out running workshops and teaching about it, and of course also helping people one-on-one manifest what they want. And it was great. I wrote my book, Family Guide to the Law of Attraction, and it was all wonderful until it wasn't, meaning I would start getting people saying, hey, this isn't working for me. And intrinsically, I knew it was because this is about your vibrational energy that there must be some disconnect between what we think we're saying we want
Right.
and what we're actually putting out there. So it led me down this path to two modalities, which were tremendously helpful on that side of the fence, right? Clearing limiting beliefs, as people like to call it. But really, what it is getting that 95% that's below the level of what we consciously want to be fully in alignment. Now, it sounds a little woo woo these days to say I'm in alignment or I'm out of alignment, but um, really the subconscious or inner mind is working in a different capacity. Its prime directive is survival,
Yes.
and so there's any number of reasons why it might be looping or stuck, an emotional stuckness, emotional turmoil. And sometimes it's obvious, somebody knows they're suffering from grief or resentment or trauma or whatever it is. Sometimes it's not so obvious, but there's some undercurrent, something
Right.
that's got your inner mind going. And so it started with how do I help people manifest stuff, but it has definitely moved into how do I help as many people as possible feel better so that they naturally start seeing the life that they want to have, being able to really see a future, right?
Yeah.
And seeing something for themselves.
Well, I'm so curious. This is so great. I think you said, it sounds woo woo because I think a lot of our audience is smart. They're self aware. They've read the books. They've done therapy. They have the T-shirt, right? Um, when you talk about rapid resolution, which I love that. Like, how is that possible? Because how is that different from what people are typically doing to, like you said, change their neural pathways to work or reveal what's below that surface.
So the context, I think that we all know about is being self-reflective, journaling about it, analyzing our feelings. Why do
Right.
I feel this way? Or, that more typical step, which is going to therapy, traditional talk therapy, and trying to work through things. Here's the thing, based on what we both just talked about,
Right.
that you could want something here at the conscious level,
Yes.
but 95% of what's going on is your sympathetic nervous system and the inner
Yes.
mind. So what takes a long time is when we're trying to work in that conscious space. You go to therapy, you're having a conscious conversation with your conscious mind, talking it out, potentially re-injuring yourself, right? If you're
Right.
talking over this traumatic something that already causes pain and you're talking about it over and again, people get sick of hearing themselves talk about it and not getting better or journaling about it. And really, really smart people, really smart women know how to be introspective, and that's what they do. But unfortunately, I'm gonna break everybody's common thinking about this.
Okay, great.
That that is a symptom of a problem. That's not a
Okay.
solution to a problem. And you are working at that 5% above the level where the problem is down below. Now, here's the good thing,
Okay, good.
interesting thing. The inner mind, where the problem is being generated from, the thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, is being generated from a place different from when you're experiencing it, but it talks a different language. That's why your conscious conversations are not getting through to where they need to. That's why you're kind of spinning your wheels. And I
Let me just
am,
interrupt you here because I just really want to say this because I have been saying for freaking decades, stop trying harder at what doesn't work. And I really that's why I asked you this question because I think there's a couple things happening, Mary, and I want you to talk about this. One is that people feel like I've done the work, like I've gone to therapy, I know all that stuff. Or it's hard to find a good therapist, or right now we're in this trust recession or whatever you call it, trying to find like a coach or someone to help you. Um, and so I'm just curious, like, what do we say to those people that are like skeptical, right? Like, because you're talking about doing something different. And I almost feel like someone has a choice to either like put this in their loop, like nothing works for me or whatever, let me just try harder, or actually do something different. So, how do we help them not just talk about a pattern, but clear it, like really clear it? What's the thing they're missing?
the thing they're missing in it is some of the key in here is what you said, that people will typically think, I've put in the work. And they might even hear from their professional counsel things like, you have to take responsibility, or things like that. In this world, where we can clear this all very quickly, because we're going to deal with your inner mind at the subconscious level and speak to it in a way it will hear it and get the message, it can stop trying to protect you. I, as your rapid resolution therapy specialist, am going to do the work. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to take responsibility for you to get clear. I'm going to take
Mm,
responsibility for that loop to end. And I've used this analogy a lot, and it's the one I think that resonates the most, especially with women. When you go to get your hair done, your hairstylist does not hand you the scissors and the tools and kind of direct you around, make you figure it out.
yeah.
I am your hairstylist, and I am going to get that cleaned up. I'm going to clear it out. I'm going to unkink that hose. And not only will that part of inner mind that is, it means well, It's trying to protect you. So it's throwing up all these thoughts, feelings, and sensations. But we're going to get at the message that that is no longer necessary. Thank you very much and appreciation. And when that gets cleared, the energy that it's been taking, before we got on here, Marnie, I hope it's not bad news for your tech people, but you had open tabs, right? You had open tabs
Yes.
running right. And that showed in what you were trying to accomplish here on this platform, leaky
Yes.
energy.
Yes.
And
My open
so, and,
tabs.
and then you close those MF tabs and your picture got clearer, your sound caught up. And so now imagine, your sympathetic nervous system has been sending energy to your extremities in survival mode while you're looping. Now, when we clear that out, unkink that hose, all the energy, and it's not just going back to your physical body and the healing and the sleeping better and all that great stuff, but now your mind is resourced again. And so it's so important to get mind clear, inner mind, that part that is really running the show for how you feel and gathering meanings in an effort to protect you so that you survive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we're talking about wanting to start a business or leave a career or, make a pivot or make a change, um, I'm just smiling because my landlord was literally like, I live in a mountain town of Colorado and he has a property management company. And he was like, it's time for a change. We're selling all our property. Like we all want to pivot. I think that that's a, I, I really want to presence that. Like, it doesn't mean that what you did before was bad or a waste of time or that relationship. The thing is, you drag a bunch of crap with you into the new thing. And who the hell has time to like go to therapy for like, 2 years or something to like work through this? So people are like, that's amazing. We have so many, our audience is growing on Substack and YouTube and Instagram. They're like, that's amazing, Mary. But also, so what's the misconception that most people are holding about healing that leads to, and I love this, like a result? Like, not just you feel better, but like you wake up and you go, wow, my life feels different. I feel different.
So I'm sorry, Marnie, ask the question again. So,
Yeah, people hear you, right? And they're probably suspicious, right? So they
uh-huh.
have a misconception about how healing actually translates to like my life is different because we
Okay.
can
Okay.
feel better but not
Yes.
do anything about it, like,
Right.
oh, I'm
Hmm.
so much less fucked up than I was before. Good.
Uh-huh.
And now what?
Well, I mean, I think, in this context where you can really now be present, right? Okay, yes, you feel better physically and you feel better mentally. And now you are resourced where, the world is kind of now open to you. So if we were to put this in the context of back to the law of attraction, just as an example, a lot of people cannot see a future. I talked about people trying to make the law of attraction work, and that's kind of what led me down this path when it wasn't working and what we discovered. But some people really did, they just can't even see a future for themselves because the marching message on the loop is there aren't plenty of fish in the sea. And I can't because, and I'm this way because, and all of this stuff. So the thought of even trying to put together a wish list to ask the field of potentiality to bring you good stuff, that's not even possible for some people, a lot of
Uh,
people.
this is huge because I mean, when I used to do like the old fashioned sales calls, for years, I'd be like, "Hey, what's your pain?" Everyone can answer that, and I'd be like, "What's your vision? If I could wave the magic mom, what would it look like?" And Mary, like, they'd be like, "Honestly, Marnie, I literally don't even know. Like, I don't know. This is all I know." All of those things. So, I think
Yeah.
what you're saying, like, so let's talk about our open tabs. So if we have so many open tabs, I mean, give yourself some grace, people. How you don't have the energy. Your brain can only think like a 10% difference of what you have anyway. right? Like we imagine things that are slightly different. And then you go, oh, but I've got all this shit that says I can't. It makes perfect sense, right? Why people can't do it.
And, you know, when let's just, you go through rapid turmoil resolution with me, everybody feels better right away. Everybody's relaxed. But the proof is in the pudding, right? The next night, a week later, a month later, what has changed besides that feeling better is your being resourced means you can really experience more emotions. You can experience joy. You can experience contrast, being fully present and observant, and make calls about I like that or I don't like that. That's pleasant, that's not pleasant. These are the things that lead us to finally seeing a vision for what we want. Hey, I like this. I want to go down this path. These are places where a lot of times if we're in stuckness, we don't have that potential to even experience the contrast of the world and to make decisions and live our life. So, but once you're clear, though, again, unkink that hose, energy goes to where it needs to. And now you're like, you can literally see more. The sunglasses have come off and now you're living your life. That is the difference. That is the difference. And if you were lucky enough to at least consciously know what you want, now you really are seeing it as not just possible, but feeling instincts and intuition to turn left down the street or make a call or stop at Starbucks, even if you're in a rush, because your body says, I want that and I need that. And when you get in there, who knows who you'll run into?
Exactly. I'm like literally listening, I'm like, the way I manifested this house was such a manifestation. And so I'm like, yeah,
Mine
Mary,
too.
like I'm gonna get something even better. Um, so I have a question. So a lot of people who are listening who follow me, they're high functioning and they're emotionally exhausted. Um, and you talk about the leaky energy. So how do you define that? How does it show up for these high achieving women who are still performing at a really, really high level, who have all the yes buts?
Um, I think it's where it's showing up is attention, right? It's attention, it's a stress, it's an
Mm,
attachment to the things that are making us unhappy, right? So, in a commonly accepted picture, right? Um, I'll give you an example. I have a client, very successful. She, though, always the first one to get the raise, to get the promotion, to be picked first. But her family would tell you she's a nightmare. She's a monster. I mean, not that really mean, not that she's mean, but like
right.
they're
No,
afraid to be around
I get
her.
it.
And, you know, so when she finally realized that something's not right, the truth is that if she put in, she was naturally talented, right? We're not going to deny anybody that
Yeah.
they're smart. But if she put in 80% capacity, it would still beat the crap out of anybody around her on her team, right? But she puts in 150. And so when we had our session, what we discovered was a meaning within in her mind attached to survival. So her inner mind was literally creating the necessity of putting this in at like that this was life or
Mm,
death, that if she didn't do it, she was going to die.
yeah.
And that's way down there. That's when you're doing sand art, that's the red sand at the bottom.
Right.
It's hard to clear. And so, when we cleared it, when we said, thank you very much, I'm giving shorthand to the sympathetic nervous system, but I don't need this protection. I'm not going to die if I don't put in 150%. I'm not going to die if I delegate. I'm not going to die if I only work 8 hours a day. Everything, I'm not right. So we get the
Y'all are
message
thinking this
through.
is, she's like, obviously, but I just literally had a client Slack me. She's trying to get out of meetings. And she said, I know this sounds crazy, but I have FOMO. Like, what if people screw up? What if they let me down? What if, right? So
Yeah.
this literally is happening on my Slack like 20 minutes ago. So
And it's,
that feels like death. It's ego
it
death.
does.
It's
And
like
sometimes though,
yeah.
most people, most high functioning people, again, the smarter we are, the higher susceptibility we have to emotional turmoil,
Yeah.
because, our conscious mind is, moving towards something. That's the other thing about our inner mind. When we keep doing something, we are signaling to inner mind that that is safe. And when we avoid something, we're signaling to inner mind that it's dangerous. And it doesn't matter what it is, but that's why people can't stop doing bad things for them, because inner mind thinks it's safe, right? So it can work in any direction. So when we had our session, we got that message to inner mind that if she put in 80%, she wasn't going to die. And what happened was, of course, she did feel better right away. But upon checking in over time, so many things changed for her.
Right.
She stopped misreading emails where she was anticipating, you know, um, pushback from people on her team. And this was happening all the time. And she actually thought she was reading that they were pushing back, but that's because her mind was ready to interpret it that way. How many
Right.
times do we read emails and we totally got the wrong context because we thought we knew what it was going to say? And our brain will fill that stuff in. So her communications got better. She did start delegating. And here's the thing, too. Not, yes, she got herself back more time, but her output was, she said, I have been coming up with ideas. I am now being recognized for outside the box thinking that is really doing so much more at my 80%, putting in my 80%, because she's resourced. That blood is no longer rushing away from her brain. So as smart as she was, she really wasn't at capacity, right? Because of this loop, because of this survival sympathetic nervous system being flared on all the time.
All the time. So when someone knows all the stuff, and we go to that deeper level from the experiences that you've had, because I'm just like so passionate about this question. What's the payoff of staying in the story? Why are they staying in the story? I mean, yes, they feel like they're going to die, but there's got to be some payoff, right? That makes it like hard to let go of that protective armor, that guard, that story. So what's the payoff of staying in the story, and how do we shift it?
So I would reframe that to, there's not a payoff, but it's more like the sympathetic nervous. It might be easier to talk about it in a more, in a context, let's say, of a trauma. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing happened 10 years ago, and it's my story, and it haunts me, and I have to keep talking about it. And the reason is because, people will experience something. Three different people can experience things the same way. Here's another piece that I'd love for everybody to take away.
Yeah. Okay, great.
How you're feeling, your stuckness, is not because of what happened. It's not because of what happened. It's because of the way mind is processing the information.
Mm-hmm.
And I can prove that by, that if you put three people together and each of them experience the same exact thing, they can come away with three different results, right?
Okay.
One can't even believe what happened, and they're talking about it, and they can't focus, and they can't work today because this horrible thing happened in the morning. The next person might have been like, oh, that was very unpleasant, but I have work to do, and move on, right? And the third person might have gone into the situation to try to help, and just like done their thing and really been resilient and just talk about it like a memory. That is proof that the person that was deeply affected processed the information differently. Now, if we move into a trauma scenario,
Right.
we can punch a pillow and now my hand isn't there anymore, but the imprint is there. And
Right.
so sympathetic nervous system feels it and stays on it. It is stuck. It's blown up like a threat is still there. And it
Okay.
thinks it's still there. And if it thinks it's still there, it wants you to
Excuse me.
do something about it, right? That's why it causes senses and emotions to get you to
Yeah.
do something to survive. And so if we're telling our story, if we're stuck in our story, if we look at it like what's the payoff, then that's an assumption that it's a conscious conversation. It's a conscious act to stay in that story, but it really isn't. Here's your permission. It's not your fault that this is your story and you're sticking with it. It's your survival mechanism in the sympathetic
Mm,
nervous system that is keeping it alive because it thinks you can do something about it if you keep talking about it. And so when we clear it and get the message to inner mind that that isn't true, that your story doesn't exist, that what happened or your situation is just the way you're sharing it and the way mind has blown it up. When we get the information to that part of mind that's trying to keep you safe,
yeah.
it clears and there's no longer that story looping. Instead, there's opportunity to create new stories.
So if you look at that and the people that the folks that can't even imagine or see beyond, because of their survival mode, what do you think the manifestation industry, the gurus, the people on Instagram, what do you think they're getting dangerously wrong? Like what's going on there, do you think?
Well, I think it's missing this information. I mean, I think sometimes the concept of shadow work,
Yes.
I think, allows that understanding that if there's something else going on within you, it's going to blur those vibrational intention lines between your intention and the quantum field, right? And so if we do the shadow work and come to terms with whatever it is that could be contradicting what we consciously think we want. So in that realm, anyone who goes at least in that direction is kind of getting it right. What's still wrong about that though is that's still your conscious mind being reflective and introspective. And listen, it can work. Listen,
Right.
if it's not really deep, if it's just, listen, I'm just tired of going on 122 blind dates. So I have shut it down and I'm no longer looking at people fairly in a mindful, thoughtful, non judgmental way. And maybe that's the shadow work I need to do is to, right? So that might not be that deep. Um, but to just the embodiment work of visualizing affirmations, getting those wires right so that you literally are, we are molecular beings with electromagnetic frequencies. That is how this all works. The frequencies are coming out of our emotions and our thoughts. And that's why we have really cool coincidences and synchronicities happening
Right.
all the time. It's great. Um, but if a manifestation guru is only taking you through those steps and not speaking to those for whom it's not working and having the reason why and turning people toward a solution to clear out the frequency that's making everything blurry, then they're not being honest about what's on the other side, right? So
Mm. If someone's listening and they think, well, nothing terrible happened to me. I don't have any traumas. My inner mind is fine. But why do I still feel disconnected, or why isn't it not working? What do you tell them?
um I think, there's some really cool questions you can ask yourself. Um, right. And it will show you might not think so, but that kind of thing can show up in places like, uh, I, I had a client who was sent to me from her mother.
Ah, I love that.
The client was 34, still single, still saying, I can't find my person. I can't find my person. Um, So I talked about some of those symbolic things in her life. Is your what happens? Have you ever brought anybody back to your apartment? Well, no, my apartment is a mess.
Right.
Okay,
I used to hear that a lot.
well, do you clean it up? Clean it up. How many chairs are at your kitchen table? Oh, well, I don't really have a table. I have one stool at my counter because it's just me. Right. So these are things, these are your why. Why? So you could be saying, I want this, but it's significant that you have set yourself up to not have a space around you for two, right?
Mm,
Even the painting on the wall is
yeah.
of a single woman at the beach, right? These are all things that our in our mind will pick up on, right? These bits and pieces of information and make them true and stay in that place. And you're literally shifting your frequency when you buy new furniture. Clean up, make sure the sheets are clean, right? That you're ready to bring somebody home at a moment's notice. It says, I'm ready. It says, you already are a couple. Just right now, that space is a little blank. Bring it on, you right? And so you might not, if it's not working for you, I would suggest looking around and seeing, do you feel that that reality is just a breath away? If you don't feel that, let's clean it up.
I
What's
love
in there?
this.
Let's clean it up.
Um, Last thing, if you could interrupt one internal sentence that high achieving women repeat all day long, they're thinking it, what what would it be and what would you replace it with?
Um, I have to, or I have no choice, is what I hear all the time, right? I have to, I have no choice.
Mm. And what would they replace it with?
Um, they could replace it with, I wonder what would happen if I didn't.
Mm.
I wonder what would open up if I didn't. And follow through, because some of it might be like, well, the truth is the fallout wouldn't be that bad, or the follow the fallout could be bad, but here's how I would fix it or prevent it from happening. And when we start asking questions, it's amazing, especially smart women. We have all the answers. We just aren't asking the questions right. Instead of stating something as fact, which every frequency in your body picks up on as truth, saying, what would happen if I didn't?
Mm.
Oh, so many answers fill in, and we're smart enough to realize either it's going to be safe, and we can tell our minds, oh, you know what, it's going to be safe, or it might not be. I'm going to do a fear setting exercise, right? Oh, well, this or this could happen, so how can I prevent this? Or if it did happen, then what would I do to solve the problem? And you just kind of take it out. See, so much of looping is not finishing the story.
Right.
It's just not finishing, even with a trauma. This happened, this happened, this happened. Well, but then what happened? Oh, then it was over. Then I went to
Mm.
my mom's house. Then I went out for dinner. Like, it's, you got to finish the story. Finish the story. Follow through. Let the energy get to where it needs to get to. Get in her mind the message that you are now safe.
I love that. Y'all want to go to portablevisions.com. Our producer will put it in the links. And check out, like, there's quantum sessions, corporate mindfulness. There's also a loop locator that you
Yeah.
could get for free, which will help you find the pattern and clear the signal. So you definitely want to get that. And of course, you always want to get the book, The Family Guide to the Law of Attraction. Let's get our whole family on it. Mary, thank you so much for being here. This was super interesting. And I just think you have such a different approach. And I know everyone is so excited to kind of dig into it this afternoon.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what else, Marnie? I just thought of something. That loop locator, it's a secret link, not that visible. So it's portablevisions.com/gift.
Slash gift. Okay, great.
Um,
And
if
if you
anybody
go to
wants
the
that.
site though, you can click on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's not there. It's not.
It's not there. That's
That's
okay.
why I was, yeah. So that's why portablevisions.com/gift. But yes, all the other information is there.
Okay, great. And we'll make sure we get that right link in our show notes and our recording and our clips and all those things. So grateful to have you. If you want to follow more Marnie, you can go find me on Substack, marniebatista.substack.com. We're teaching you how to screw the should life. We're coming live a couple times a week. And remember, in always, it's your responsibility to life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.